Welcome back, everybody, to the Weekly Source. Very excited to have you today. And then we've got a home cooking show. We've got our very own Srini Venkatramani, our Chief Product and Technology Officer. Srini, welcome to the Weekly Source.
Good morning, Neil. Thanks for having me.
Of course, super excited. So we, in March, in the Nova release, we unveiled our PlanSource IQ suite of products, right? And the goal there was to bring artificial intelligence, machine learning into processes we might be doing today. I think the two highlighted were Decision IQ, Dependent IQ. Very excited to unveil kind of Dependent IQ today, and really want to use our time today to kind of dive into the why behind it and really the what. So let's get started. The first one, and we got a couple questions in from it, and it was about helping maintain benefits costs, right? There's a SHRM study that was just out. We learned in 2021, healthcare plan costs are expected to rise about 5%, almost 6%. So it's at top of everyone's mind. How do you see the Dependent IQ product helping maintain, reduce benefits costs, knowing it's a major priority for both our broker partners and our HR partners?
A great question, Neil, in terms of the why. As you rightly pointed out, employee benefits are becoming a key cost item for all the employers. Surveys say that almost a third of the total compensation cost, according to the BLS, is part of benefits. So it becomes very critical they offer it and spend it only for eligible employees. And in related industry analysis, we have also seen that as high as 10% of the dependents were identified as ineligible in audits, with an average annual cost of dependent at $3,500 to $5,000. That's a lot of savings. With an IQ module, we are looking at a much higher ROI, about 15 to 17 times the investment that the customers will spend on this module. In addition to the cost saving, the other added benefits are this reduces the errors, and it also reduces the legal exposure.
Yeah, I know we had John mention the ERISA and legal exposure, so I know that's a big piece. But yeah, 17x ROI is definitely worth doubling down into. When we know dependent audits, right? That's a service we provide today. I think some of the pushback is the time, the manual workload, and the communication. So how does Dependent IQ leverage technology, artificial intelligence? How does it bring efficiencies to an otherwise process that might seem outdated?
No, that's right. While it is a high value proposition, the time the HR administrators need to do has been higher in the past. This is our attempt and effort to kind of differentiate and also to reduce the effort. Typically, the HR administrators spend a significant amount of time in dependent verification. What we have done is eliminate and or reduce the time involved in that verification, but at the same time ensuring the compliance. For example, whether it's around summary plan description, HR policies and rules, so that they can make sure that they are ensuring compliance, but reducing time that they have typically spent.
Very interesting. So I think we've got a good grasp on the why. I want to dive into how it works. So talk us through how the Dependent IQ product works today and how it might be different than what we know as dependent audit.
No, great question again, Neil. The way it starts working is the Dependent IQ functionality. It reads and recognizes the required documents, for example, birth certificates or marriage certificates, and it instantly detects and validates the key data elements so that there can be real-time verification and approval at the enrollment. So the dependents who submits the documents, they will be approved immediately, so they don't need to wait. And those who may not be eligible are sent for a review. By preventing potentially ineligible dependents, what we are trying to do is reduce the medical payments for fully insured plans and claim costs for self-insured plans.
So saving a ton of time. It's more instant detection, which I think is a big piece there. And then, as we mentioned before, the whole IQ product suite, we're applying artificial intelligence. So this is your platform to get extremely techie, nerd out a bit, but how are we applying artificial intelligence to Dependent IQ, dependent verification?
Great question. So let me try to answer that in three parts. One, in terms of the duration for which we have been building it and the effort that has gone into building this. We have been doing this for about 18 months. In terms of building and perfecting the algorithm, we have used more than 50,000 documents to to both train and test the algorithm. So that's part one. In terms of the specific technique that we have applied, this is something called as a supervised learning using artificial neural networks. It's a 12-layer network with each layer producing a probability rating between 0 to 100. And each layer also has a set threshold. So for the algorithm to work, the document needs to pass each of this layer and then only go to the next layer, right? So a document is only auto approved if it passes all 12 layers. So pretty sophisticated in terms of what we have done. That's the second part. The third part is in terms of doing it on the cloud. We have built this using the AWS stack. What this means is the capability is robust, scalable, and reliable.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so the artificial neural networks is something I'm taking home to learn a bit more at, but yeah, it's super impressive. I think when you hear about artificial intelligence, and there's a recent Harvard Business Review article talking about bias in AI, facial analysis technology with higher error rates among minorities, particularly minority women. How are we preventing bias when we're bringing artificial intelligence to a pretty sensitive topic like benefit selection and verification?
Again, a great question. And as you rightly pointed out, Neil, a very sensitive topic. This is something that was in our guiding principle when we started thinking about it. We planned from the start, while the application of artificial intelligence and machine learning is interesting, we wanted to avoid introducing any bias. To that end, we did two things. One, with the intention or the hypothesis. We started with the hypothesis that we would like the document to pass the check and not fail. That makes a big difference in how you train the machine to learn. So that's one. Second, we also made the workflow in a way that no document gets denied. If the system is not sure whether the document is acceptable or not, we then send it to a human being for review instead of it being a direct denial.
That's a big piece. So for HR admins or brokers who are admins, somebody still has the opportunity to see why something was denied or a dependent was denied. That's great. So awesome. I think we're right at time. So that was very concise and helpful. We're getting efficient with our own weekly sources. So where can folks learn a bit more about it? I think we've got some webinars coming up, right?
That's right. And this is good timing, Neil. We have a webinar coming on June 3rd. We will have the link in the show notes. And I'm really excited to launch this module. And I'm hoping that we can really make a difference with this differentiated product.
Same here. Srini, really appreciate your time. For the folks viewing, again, we'll link to the webinar. So this is coming out right in time. And then also our product page where you can learn more about the Dependent IQ product. Srini, thank you for your time today. And for the folks at home, we'll see you next week on the Weekly Source. Thanks.
Thank you, Neil. Thanks for having me.